The big question that came up over and over again was, this sounds interesting, I want to do this, what do I ask? So we came up with these really brass tacks questions. Embrace your inner journalist, embrace your inner researcher. These are not prescriptive, you don't have to ask these, but these are a good place to start with it. So again, we're going to send you all of these slides after too, so you'll have access to these questions. First one is, what are the job titles for this kind of work? So what you want to do in these conversations, it's very much a researcher, very much a journalist kind of a vibe. It's, this is a little bit about my background. Thank you so much for meeting with me. I'm really trying to figure out my fit in this market and more about what this market looks like. I think what I do would be called communications director. Does that track? What other kinds of functions do similar work? And you might learn that these are actually PR people, right? You might learn that these are called something else that you didn't know existed, and it's a slight tweak. You might find that a director there is way higher or way lower than it is for you currently, right? This may be a VP, this may be a communications manager, and figuring out that leveling. Which organizations are in this space? So we have a tendency to go to household names, right? We have a tendency to go to, okay, I'm gonna go to this place that I know because it's famous, and I know it from just being a human who knows things about different job sectors, so I'm gonna apply to McKinsey, right? I'm gonna apply to Gates Foundation. I'm gonna apply to, Google. It's all these things that like everyone knows what they are. Might be similar in the biotech space, right? There might be a place that you know off the top of your head, and we get locked into this idea, right? This is the place I need to apply to. Figuring out places that you have never heard of is going to get you out of this commodity job search. Skill sets, experience, education. This is where you want to ask, what do you think is essential versus nice to have? So there's a big rush now to feel productive. We have this feeling productive versus being productive thing, right? Feel productive by getting an expensive certificate or something. And I'm not saying that's a bad idea by any means. Vet that with people who work in that space before you decrease your runway by spending $5,000 getting a certificate, right, that you may or may not need for that particular space. And if you do need it, it could be a great investment, but know from them, and again, not from your friends, not from your family, not from your former colleagues, know from people who know that space. Main problem or opportunity, this is sometimes called the jobs to be done. So I'm not sure if people have heard of this kind of framing in the innovation space before, but it's the idea of the job description is going to list a bunch of responsibilities. And it's going to be a laundry list of like everything that some HR person thought was nice to have, plus everything that the hiring team thought was nice to have. Yeah. And it's very tough to suss out what is actually critical here. Why are they paying someone $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 to do this? And it's not because they came up with this laundry list of things and they feel like giving away money. It's that there's an underlying core task or a few core tasks that are really essential to this, and getting to those is key. And then this final question is super helpful to people. So this is to the weaknesses point. Please be brutally honest is a great framing. It's tough to say. And knowing that you're separating this out from your identity. This is not a reflection on you. This is asking people who work in this space, I know that you're a kind, nice person. Thank you for meeting with me. It's going to really help me if you can be brutally honest about where you see my fit for this, where you see red flags, what stands out to you as really strong, what stands out to you as something that I'm either not explaining right, you don't understand what I'm talking about, or you feel like I'm missing. And then what you can do is take that information, and it might be, you know what, I've actually done that, but it's just not coming through on how I'm talking about it. Or it might be, this place is really looking for someone who's come up through this industry, and it's probably not a good use of my marginal application time to apply here.
Cool. The Winston Churchill quote about England and America, they're two countries divided by a common language, and I think we see that with people in transition, right? These sectors, they use such different jargon or lingo to talk about work which is similar. And so all of these things, you may feel like, oh, I already know this. I have a sense of what this is. I understand this just from where I have been in my space. But I would just challenge you to question what you actually do know about the new sector. Like, they might be using words, they're using the same words, but they have a completely different meaning. And when you can get to what they actually mean with what they're saying, well, how do they call the work that you're good at? That's not a trivial question to answer. And this kind of fact-finding, really looking, honestly asking, well, what is this? What does this look like in another space? Not assuming we already have the answers. This is a very, very powerful thing just because the job market is both broader than we can ever imagine. To Dan's point, there's so many organizations out there that you've never heard of that need someone exactly like you. But they're maybe talking about the work in a way that's completely different than how your old sector talked about it.